Baruch Hashem, it has a thriving community. So with no further ado, Rabbi Meir Haber.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Rabbi Smith, and it's a pleasure being here. I understand it's English, right? We decided in English. Okay.
Polish.
I wish, first of all, hopefully I wish a very meaningful fast to everyone here. Easy fast and meaningful fast, and Bezat Hashem, that next fast we should not fast, we should be celebrating in Beis HaMikdash, Bezat Hashem. Talking about Yudzayin B'Tamuz, we all know that the two temples, two Batei Mikdash, were destroyed at Tisha B'Av. And we also know that Chazal say, Mishum Sinat Chinam Charav Habayit, Ve'Ba'avat Chinam Yibaneh Habayit. The hate for nothing, Sinat Chinam, the hate for nothing, that was the cause of the destruction of the temple. Both of the temples are actually. And the way that it's going to be built with the love that people have also for no reason. I just love you because I love you, not because I have something to gain for it. I would like to maybe connect it with the parshiyot the parshas that we read and the parsha that we are about to read. Parashat Pinchas is the one that we are about to read, but also I would like to go and give a little bit of an introduction of everything that leads to Parashat Pinchas. And if we're talking about the parashot before, so I'm of course referring to Parashat Balak, Chukat, and before that, Korach. And I would say even Shlach and Balotcha would also be in that category. And understanding what Ahavat Chinam means and understanding what Sinat Chinam means. And maybe later on, we could go into actually the cause of what happened thousands of years ago, the destruction of the temple, the lessons that were not learned from the Torah, the lesson that were not learned from the Torah Shebichtav, that led us to this destruction that we're still suffering the consequences up till this day. So we all know that the major figure in our religion, the one that we all look up to, is Moshe Rabbeinu. There was never someone like him, and there will never be someone like him. Moshe Rabbeinu, the Torah refers also, Torat Moshe Avdi. Hashem testifies that Moshe is my servant, and that's basically the ultimate goal of each and every one of us, is also to be a servant. And if Hashem testifies that he's his servant, so we know that that's the best testimonial of ever. But what led to that? Because we know that there were a lot of tzaddikim, a lot of righteous people over the generations. But when we come to talk about Moshe Rabbeinu, we talk about Va'ish Moshe. If we want to summarize everything about Moshe Rabbeinu, it says Va'ish Moshe Anav Mikol Adam Asher Al Pnei Adama. And the person Moshe is the most humblest of them all. Never existed anyone like that on the earth, on the face of the earth. But that's what we summarize Moshe Rabbeinu with. That's what we basically bring Moshe Rabbeinu. This is like Moshe Rabbeinu was the one that brought the Torah. Okay, that could be one qualification of anava, of humbleness. But why would we just limit it to that, to summarize it with that in that all? Talk about the godliness, a man that he was, the one that devoted his life to Am Yisrael, the one, like, there's many qualifications And again, humbleness is one of the qualifications, but to summarize everything, the Torah summarizes, Va'ish Moshe Anav Mikol Adam Asher Al Pnei Adama. It has to do, in the heart of that description, is basically in these parashot that we are right now holding in. And actually, Bashkacha Pratit, it came out also at the day of Yuzayim B'Tamuz. And if we don't learn the lesson, so there's something crucial we're missing in the whole kind of practice of the 3 weeks that we're entering in right now. And like I said, I would like to go back to maybe to the incident of Miriam talking about Moshe Rabbeinu, and Miriam is telling Aaron, "Vatedaber Miriam odot ha'isha kushit." She's talking about, who is she talking about? About Sipporah, about Moshe Rabbeinu's wife. What is she talking about? What is she saying? What is she basically referring to? Because she's saying, listen, Moshe Rabbeinu is not, he's very, very holy, but we also, Hashem is talking also to us, to you, Aaron, but we still have a family life, and we still understand that there's other things that we have to accomplish in our private life. Why is he basically separating himself from everything else, even his wife? But then there's another perush, there's another commentary that talks about Moshe Rabbeinu basically according to the eyes of Miriam, because Miriam is the one that saved him. And Miriam we have to thank for having a Moshe Rabbeinu, because if Miriam would have not have this whole grand plan, we wouldn't have this Moshe Rabbeinu. So Miriam felt that he could have done better. That with everything Moshe Rabbeinu is qualified for, there's something we're missing here, and there's something that I'm, as an older sister, and you, Aaron, because she's talking to Aaron, we are responsible to change the circumstances. He dealt with just certain circumstances when he ran away from Mitzrayim, and he was a refugee, and he had nothing else to look forward to. So there was this Yitro and the daughters of Yitro and Tzipporah among them. They helped him out. So, but he was a refugee then. But now we're talking about a different kind of man. We're talking about a man that defeated Paro, that defeated Egypt, that is is leading Am Yisrael out of Egypt, talking to Hashem, talking to this, and look what he landed up with someone without a yichus, without any kind of background, without any kind of roots. And if there's any kind of subject, there's a touchy subject in Moshe Rabbeinu's life, it would be his personal life. Because with everything that was said and done, there was something that, unfortunately, Moshe Rabbeinu did not have. And again, it's not for us to judge, but we base it according to the commentaries. We're talking about his personal life with his sons. His sons were not, Moshe Rabbeinu wanted exactly like Aaron has the continuation with the Keuna. So Moshe Rabbeinu wanted the continuation with the leadership to go to his sons. But not only that they were not leaders, they were not exactly, I would not, again, these are the sons of Moshe Rabbeinu, so we should be very, very careful about, but they were far away from anything that Moshe Rabbeinu was, that we would think that the sons of the greatest leader of all, it's not like such a comfortable subject even for us to talk about. So you could imagine in the middle of everything, that is going on with all of the sins that Am Yisrael are going through, with Chet HaMeraglim, with Korach and Kol Hadato, and everything else, the ones that you would think that would have his back out of everyone would be his brother and sister. And could you imagine for him to hear this kind of talk of between Miriam and Aaron, even if he didn't hear it, this is what's going on. And if he didn't hear it, even worse, because Miriam, you have something to tell him. Tell him to his face. What do you?
Haber, I just want to mention a few things. First of all, some of us don't understand the Hebrew word, so I just want to mention yichus means lineage, and the specific story. Maybe we just take 1 minute, just like mention the specific story a little more. That there was a story where Moshe seemed like he sort of shocked his brother and sister by the fact that he had separated from his wife, and they were very surprised. And the reason they were so surprised was because they also had revelations of prophecy, and they didn't have to separate from their spouses. So they spoke negative about Moshe. Rabbi Haber is also discussing the fact that his kids didn't seem to be so successful in their at least Moshe didn't seem to succeed in bringing his kids up to the level that he expected, to the level of passion for Judaism that he would have liked to be leaders in. And they didn't end up being leaders. We did discuss this also in some of our classes, because we studied the book of Shoftim, and there was a story there where one of the grandchildren of Moshe was involved involved with one of the idol worshiping, the Micha, which was a sort of like a location of idol worship, and he was a Levi, and he was looking for a position. They made him the Kohen. So we did have that as well, which is interesting that Rabbi Haber is mentioning it, because we are familiar with that story a little. So anyway, I'm sorry for interrupting.
No,
Rabbi
it's
Haber.
okay. Very good. So just to summarize what Rabbi Smith just said. There was the most hurtful subject that you could talk about, and coming from your own sister, the one that is basically, if I could say, even half a mother, okay, like the way that she treated Moshe Rabbeinu, the way she took care of him, it's very painful. But if we look, Moshe Rabbeinu is not saying anything. Who is saying? Hashem. Hashem is the one saying, how dare you? How were you not fearful to talk about my servant Moses, about my servant Moshe? And if you think that you like him, it's a total different story. You are prophets, but you need a dream to have prophecy and everything else. Moshe Rabbeinu is on a different level. And Moshe Rabbeinu is called the master of all prophets. So when we talk about starting to understand what went on here, is Moshe Rabbeinu is what the Navi calls, and I'm going to say it in Hebrew and then translate it into English, הנעלבים ואינם עולבים בהם דיבר הכתוב. So the ones that are getting like hurt and don't retaliate back, the ones that don't give back, the ones that don't hurt back, the ones that Hashem looks at them as something very, very, very special, and it gives them a special reward that we'll see later on in our parsha, how that reward comes into effect. But basically, to summarize that story with Moshe, Aaron, and Miriam, that Miriam is talking, Moshe Rabbeinu was not saying anything. But we see that Hashem is standing up, and he says, Bechol beiti ne'emanu. In all of my house, and Hashem is saying, in all of my house, in all of my nation, in all of my world, he's the most faithful. Now, what does faithfulness has to do with this? Say that he's the most righteous. Say that why is faithful have to do with faithful to me or faithful? Bechol beiti ne'emanu. Ne'eman is faithful. I saw something that really changed the whole outlook of the story in many, many different ways. And a midrash brings it and says like this. I think it's the Yalkut Ruvani. Says like this. A blind girl, a blind woman, couldn't see anything. And she was complaining about life. Life is very, very hard. She can't see anything. She can't go around. And there was one bright light in her life, that there was a guy that was coming and serving her and helping her out with whatever she needed. And she says, if I'm going to ever see again, I'll marry you. And time goes by, and if she finds out that there's someone that could donate the vital parts of the eye that make a person see, that she could start seeing again, maybe, if the operation is successful. And they put the bandages on her, and when they take off the bandages, she starts seeing. And the world looks like a terrific place. She starts seeing, and there's so much stuff that she wants to accomplish, so much things she wants to see. She wants to take advantage of everything. And of course, the guy that helped her out all the time comes and visits her. And she sees the guy, and she's looking at him very, very carefully. Again and again and again. She says, I'm sorry, but I can't marry you. She saw that he's blind. And he says, I'm sorry, I can't. There's too much stuff I want to accomplish in my life. Then I can't just be helping you out. And he goes home very, very hurt. And he's writing to her a letter, and he says, I wish you good luck in your life, and just take care of those parts in the eyes that made you see, because those parts of the eyes served me also before. So take good care of them. He's the one that donated that part of the eye and made him blind. And why is the Midrash bringing this like this? Because Moshe Rabbeinu, when he's going to be a refugee, when he leaves Egypt, and Yitro takes him in, and even by Yitro, there's a little bit of a fear that the Egyptians are going to find him. So Yitro, according to one commentary, he puts him down in a dungeon. And Tzipporah comes and feeds him, gives him water and bread. And now when he's a powerful leader and the most holiest, Hashem is telling Moshe, Miriam and Aaron, you think he's going to leave her? Bechol beiti ne'emanu. In all of my home, there's no one faithful more than him. He remembers exactly from where he comes. He remembers exactly who was with him when he was in pain, when he was in a sorrow. But here the story only starts. Because if we go a few parshas ago to Parashat Korach, there's one question that a lot of commentaries talk about. in every time that there's a attempt of Moshe Rabbeinu to try and solve the problems with Korach, and everyone I assume knows the story with Korach. Korach was the one that led a group that was trying to get Moshe and Aaron out of leadership. A coup, I would say. Maybe that would be the best way. But there's two individuals there that every time that there's an attempt for something, for making peace from Moshe Rabbeinu, we see that we're not talking about Korach, we're talking about Datan and Aviram. Two of these individuals. It says, Vayako Moshe, Datan and Aviram, that Moshe Rabbeinu gets up towards Datan and Aviram. And what is Datan and Aviram are the ones that are answering him. What's going on? The parsha is called Korach. It's not called Datan and Aviram. Why is Datan and Aviram? And more than that, David HaMelech at Tehillim, I think it's Perek Kuf Aleph, I'm not sure, but it says Vatechas al Adat Aviram, again mentioning Adat Aviram, something with Datan Vaviram, like there's some kind of obsession here with these two individuals. And why? Why are we not calling, if they're the main characters here, we should be calling the whole story Adat, Datan, Vaviram. But it's only what Moshe Rabbeinu is referring towards, and he's calling them out. He's like trying to negotiate with them. And the question becomes even stronger because now that you'll understand the background of these two individuals for the last 58 and a half years, and I'm exact with the years here because we calculated it. For the last 58 and a half years, they have one mission in their life: to make Moshe Rabbeinu's life miserable. And I'm saying 58 and a half years, and now we're going to start proving it. But if we think about it, these two people, it's not like Korach. Korach wants a job. Korach, okay, he wants a job. He wants covered. We could deal with it. Okay, we could throw him some kind of like a candy. But Datan and Aviram are the ones that are really, really have one goal in their whole entire life, is to get Moshe Rabbeinu into trouble, to get Moshe Rabbeinu down, and we'll start proving it. Moshe Rabbeinu, what causes him running out of Egypt? Everyone, of course, knows the story that he killed the Egyptian. There was an Egyptian that was fighting with a Jewish man, and he killed the Egyptian. He was very careful that no one should see. But the next day, he goes out again, and he sees two Jews fighting. So he's asking one of them, Rasha lama takerecha, cruel person, vicious person, why are you hitting your friend here? So he says, are you going to do to me like what you did to the Egyptian yesterday? You don't talk. I know you're not a talker. You are, if you have something to say, you do. You basically, what are you going to kill me? Like you killed? And then Moshe Rabbeinu says to himself, Achenu da davar. He says, someone found out. But how could someone find out if the pasuk itself says, I'll say it in Hebrew and then translate it to English, Va'ifen kovacho vayar kinish vayachet hamitzri vayitmeneu bachol. He looked to sides, he sees that there's no one there, and then he does it. He's very careful. So who is the one that told about him? Who is the one that saw? What are these battles all about between the Egyptian and the Jewish person?
Well, who was getting beaten? That's the problem.
Sorry?
Who was getting beaten? The only one left. Who could
Exactly.
tell?
Exactly. You got it. Who is the one speaking? Whoever said it, Yitzchok. That's the right thing. But look at the absurd here. It's like something that you can't even imagine, because the background of these stories, the system in Egypt was. It was a little bit, and I'd never like to bring the Holocaust into this, but in order to vision maybe a little bit, it's the Egyptians had capos under them that basically got beaten up if the Jews were not able to accomplish whatever was meant for them to have. Sorry?
Meet their quota.
Meet their quota. And so they were called shotrim. And the Egyptian person that is in charge of these policemen went to one of these policemen and woke him up in the morning and said, it's time to go to work. And when he left to work, the Egyptian went into the house and did whatever he did with this Jewish person's wife. And he came back, the Jewish policeman comes back to the house and he hears from his wife what the Egyptian did. So he goes and fights the Egyptian. And this is the Egyptian that Moshe Rabbeinu kills. And when you start understanding the ungratefulness, is that when you have this person was, and again, we could go with Rashi, this person was called Datan. And he saved Datan. But the next day, Aviram, that is also Datan's brother, but also his wife, Datan's wife's brother, because they had different fathers and mothers. So Datan and Aviram were brothers. Aviram and the wife were brother and sister. So she goes over to her brother, to his brother-in-law and his brother, and says, you know, my husband is about to divorce me because he found out that I'm pregnant from this Egyptian. So he goes and fights his husband. He goes and fights his brother and his brother-in-law and his wife's husband, right? To give back the kavod, to give back the glory to the family. How come you divorcing her? And here Moshe Rabbeinu comes in and basically asks, why are you hitting him? He's asking one of them. And then that, are you going to kill me like you killed the Egyptian yesterday? What kind of great ungratefulness could you have? He saved you. He saved you. Moshe Rabbeinu is the one that saved you. There was no one else there, like the gentleman said before. There's no one there. There's no one there. He's the one that saved you, and you are going to tell about him? This is an obsession that you can't even imagine. How he has to run away from Egypt up till Hashem tells him 58 years later. Hashem tells him, okay, go back to Egypt, because the people that wanted to kill you are no longer existing. But we know that they are still existing. But what does Rashi says? Ani chashuv kamet. A poor person is like someone that is not existing. They're not powerful as they were. So they can't harm you. He goes back. What is the mission? Why is he going back? What is the mission of going back? The mission is to take Am Yisrael out of Egypt. He's taking Am Yisrael out of Egypt. And what happens? He goes into Paro and says to Paro, Shalach et ami v'yavduni, let my people go. And Paro answers, who are you that I'm going to listen to you? Who is Hashem that I'm going to listen to him? It's only because you have too much free time on your hands, and that's why you are talking now nonsense that to go out of slavery. I'm going to make the work harder. And they go out from the palace, and who are the first people that they see? They see the policemen, Datan and Aviram. Now, every time that it says Anashim, Rashi says Anashim, that refers to Datan v'Aviram, and we'll see how that's true. So Datan v'Aviram, he sees them, and then they say to Moshe Rabbeinu, they say to Moshe and Aaron, they say, what did you do? What did you do? You making the Jews suffer. We are the ones that are trying to make things good for the Jews. You are just making trouble by going into Paro. And they didn't only do that, they went into the palace. These policemen went into the palace, went to the biggest anti-Semite ever, to Paro, maybe not ever, but one of the biggest anti-Semites, and says, why are you doing this to your slaves? What did we do too bad to you? And Moshe is so disappointed that he's even complaining to Hashem, why did you do this? And he disappears for 3 months and then comes back. But I want you all to remember this incident, that this Datan v'Aviram are going into the palace and putting their life basically on like question, because Paro could kill them. Who are you to talk to me? And they are complaining and they're yelling out to Paro. Am Yisrael goes out of Egypt. But it says after they left, after 3 days that they left, Vayomer Paro livnei Yisrael nevuchim em ba'aretz, sagar aleim hamidbar. Paro says to Bnei Israel, to the sons of Israel, they have nowhere to go. Whoa. I just said 3 days ago they left Egypt. So to who is Paro talking? Bnei Israel is a minimum of 2, right? There were 2 individuals that were left in Egypt that didn't want to go out of Egypt, and they were called Datan v'Aviram. And they went with Paro to take the people back to Egypt, because otherwise you can't understand who is he talking to. Who is Paro talking to? Paro is talking to Datan v'Aviram. And he goes out, and they come and chase, and everyone dies there, right? Everyone dies in the water. Not Datan v'Aviram. Hashem remembered what they did, had the way that the sacrifice, and went into the palace of Paro and stood up for Am Yisrael. So they reunited with Am Yisrael after Kriyat Yamsuf, after the split of the water. Now, how do I know that what I'm saying is right? Why
they had a separate Kriyat Yamsuf. The Yamsuf split again just for the 2 of them.
Right, correct. So how come? Why? How do I know that these 2 individuals, when he's saying Bnei Yisrael, that we're talking about these 2 individuals? Because later on, when we're talking about right before Korach, after Chet HaMeraglim, it says, Nitna rosh v'nashuva mitzrayma. There was a whole group that said, let's put a new leader and let's go to Egypt. Let's go back to Egypt. But now at Parashat Korach, when Moshe Rabbeinu is giving the last attempt for them to do tshuva, he says, they say to him in Hebrew, and I'm going to say it in Hebrew and then translate it to English, Ame'at ki elitanu me'eretz zavat chalav udvash, la'amitenu b'midbar hazeh. They talking about Eretz zavat chalav udvash. He took us out of the land of milk and honey. They're not referring to Israel. They're referring to Egypt. They felt that Egypt is the ultimate place for the Jews to be at. And they didn't they stayed in Egypt because they felt that the Jews have to be in Egypt. And that's why, in their mind, they're doing the right thing for Am Yisrael. In their mind, they totally wrong. But in their mind, they're doing something good for Am Yisrael. And Moshe Rabbeinu is something that is someone that is trying to start a revolution here. They're not in their mind, they're not the ones that are doing the revolution. It's Moshe Rabbeinu taking them to the land of dreams. So when Moshe Rabbeinu is trying the last attempt, to who does he go? He doesn't go to Korach. He goes to Datan v'Aviram. Why? Because even though that they hate him, and with compassion, with passion, they hate him, they can't stand him, they destroyed his life. Moshe Rabbeinu at the beginning of Parashat Korach, the first thing that he does when they come and gang up on him, he said, "Vayipol al panav." He does tachanun, what we did today. He's basically trying to figure out where did he go wrong, first of all, before anything. The second thing that he's trying to figure out, maybe I'm doing something personal against them, and I'm not about that. So even when Hashem told Am Yisrael to go away from the tents, to go away from the tents of this whole group, Moshe Rabbeinu is having the last attempt and going towards them and picking himself towards them, not going physically towards them, but standing up and having the last time, because he says, me you can't fool. I know who you are. I know that you have Mesiras Nefesh. I know, I saw it in the palace of Paro, how you stood up in front of Paro. I know exactly who you are. You could be against me, you could hate me, but I know who you are. And I'm not giving up on any Jew. I'm not giving up on any individual here. Not even the people that are coming out and made their life go against me, because I know that you have good in you. And not only that you have good in you, you were willing to give up your life for the cause of Am Yisrael. So then, when we come to our parasha, to Parashat Pinchas, all of the questions start being much, much stronger, because where's Moshe Rabbeinu in all of this story? Moshe Rabbeinu and Elazar, Aaron already passed, are standing. And basically it seems like they lost power. It seems like they don't know how to deal with the situation. What is the situation? The girls of Moab are coming and making the people of Israel sin. And there's this one individual, Pinchas, that the Pasha is named after him, that gets rewarded for what he did. But before we start talking about his reward, who is this Pinchas? Pinchas. So the Torah said Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron HaKohen. If we talked about not having a yichus, This is the ultimate ichus. This is the, how did he say, Rabbi Smith, what is the ichus?
Lineage.
Lineage, okay. You see, I'm learning English also. So this is guy is their ultimate lineage. It's like unbelievable, but only on one side. On the other side, they actually made fun out of him. They said, he is related to Yitro, he's related to someone that was sacrificing sacrificing to idols. Who is he? And Pinchas is quiet. Pinchas doesn't say anything. He doesn't retaliate. I want to pause right there and go to Churban HaBayit thousands of years later, to the destruction of the temple. We know the famous story, and I'm not going to go into the details of it, of Kamsa Bar Kamsa. And Kamsa Bar Kamsa basically were two people that, let's put it in a nice way, did not get along with each other. But it was more than that, not getting along with each other. It was getting to a point that a mistake was done, and Kamsa was a part of Bar Kamsa's gathering, a celebration. By mistake, he didn't mean to invite him, but it happened. When he found out that he's in this meal, he said, "Get out of here. I want you to get out of here." He said, don't humiliate me, please. I'm going to pay for my meal. I'm not going to pay only for my meal. I'll pay for half of the meal. I'll pay for the whole meal. And everyone, all of the big shots of Am Yisrael, the biggest rabbis, the biggest leaders, everyone is at this meal. And no one is saying anything. Everyone is saying, "Oh, this is not my business. It's not my business. I'm not getting involved. Who am I? I'm just a guest here." And he had to leave. And he had to leave. And he had to leave the party. And he decided he's going to have a revenge. And thing led to another thing. And the destruction of the temple really all started from there. Now, why is it so important? Because after all the introduction that I gave about Moshe Rabbeinu, Pinchas knew exactly who was Moshe Rabbeinu because Pinchas had the same exact, in many ways, the same exact kind of background as Moshe Rabbeinu in different ways. Moshe Rabbeinu did not retaliate, and he also did not say anything when people said anything. He was keeping quiet. He learned exactly. He had the best teacher ever. So if Moshe Rabbeinu is not doing anything, and Elazar, his father, is not doing anything, who are you to come and do whatever you did? And he killed the son of the president of a big tribe of Shevet Shimon. Who are you to be the one that is going to change everything? Moshe Rabbeinu is your model. It's exactly the same situation like you. They also, Miriam also spoke about him, and people talk about you, and it's same exact. And what happened with you? You decided to take the law in your hands, and Rashi and the other commentators say, Pinchas zakai lesachar. Pinchas is entitled to a reward. And that's why Hashem gives him on the pasuk. He says, "Inini noten lo et briti shalom, v'ayta lo zaro acharav kehunat olam," that he's getting the kehuna, that he's getting to be the kohen, him in the generations after him, because of what he did. Now, all of us, I'm sure Rabbi Smith is gonna correct me if I'm mistaken, but all of us try to do the right things. And we try to make things happen in the right way. And we all want rewards. We all, whatever. If you're a bigger tzaddik, you want the reward at Olam Haba. But we're all expecting, I'm a good person. I do good things. Hashem, you have to give me something for it, right?
Already has.
Sorry?
Already has. And
right?
everything you got until now?
Right. So, but it doesn't specify it in the pasuk. When it comes to Pinchas, what does it specifies? All of the reward is coming on the thing. Okay, he did a major thing, but why? Why is it specified about Pinchas that he's entitled to a reward? By the way, the reward that we get, Hashem doesn't owe us anything. We're living, like you said, we're living in Hashem's world. So whatever we have, we should be happy with. Hashem doesn't owe us anything. But suddenly, when it comes to this, oh, no, Rashi says he's entitled to it. He's entitled to this reward. So again, I saw a midrash that talks about a king that goes with a bodyguard, and someone attacks him. Someone attacks the king from nowhere, and the bodyguard comes and gives the person. He basically beats him to death. And the king says, "Thank you very much. You did your job." Another incident, a few weeks later, someone attacks the king, and he's with his servant, not a bodyguard, not anything. He's not trained for this. And someone attacks the king, and the person himself, the servant himself, takes everything that he has, all of his power that he has, and beats the person up. And the king is so happy with this servant, and he gives him all the presents and everything. And people ask, how come when it was talking about the bodyguards, he just, okay, you did your job, thank you very much. But when you talking about a servant, okay, you're going out of your way, because it was not expected. And it was what we call lifnim meshuat adin. If Pinchas would have asked Moshe and Elazar, should I kill them or not? They would say, don't do anything. No, according to don't do anything. But because he did it out of the passion of understanding that Hashem is the one that is controlling the world, and this is not according to Hashem's plan, and this is very, very bad. So Hashem says, for this person, I'm giving a reward. He deserves it because it was unexpected from him, and he did it.
Commitment.
And he had
the point is it's commitment. Right. It's unusual, extraordinary commitment to Hashem.
Correct. So when we talk about the reward that he gets, if a person doesn't understand everything that we just explained, how Hashem looks at his faithful servants in a different kind of eye, so this would be like Chinese to him. But look what kind of reward he gets. He did something that in an eye that doesn't understand everything that's going on, he did something very, very, very extreme, very, very cruel. He did it in front of everyone. He showed his true colors, like that he has a killer instinct. But what does Hashem give him? He gives him the reward of being a Kohen, him and the generations to come from him. And what is the Kohen's job? Yasem lecha shalom. What do we do? What did the Kohen do? The Kohen blesses. The Kohen is trying to make peace between people. Aaron, the Kohen, is trying to make peace between people. And this is the reward that you're giving someone that did something that supposedly is the opposite. Someone not talking to him, just killing. Because here we have the crucial monument, sentence that we have in the halacha is a pesha asar or a pesha etir. The same authority that tells you to keep Shabbos is the same authority that tells you that at pikuach nefesh you don't keep Shabbos. If a person says, I'm going to make my own rules and I know what peace is all about, and for doing peace, I'm going to give up land. I'm also going for peace. I'll give up a few parts of the Torah. I'll make some kind of exceptions here and there. So he doesn't understand what peace is all about. He thinks he's living in the theory that peace is, everyone's saying hello, nice to each other. Everyone is nice and dandy. And if someone does something wrong, okay, let's talk about it. This is something that Pinchas taught us. Yes, I'm a man of peace. I'm the father of all peace. And by the way, we know later on, and it's a different subject, but Pinchas Eliyahu. Pinchas is the same Gilgul, or the way you look at it is Pinchas Eliyahu. It's just a small little thing that we should understand, Pinchas and Moshe. It says like this.
But Eliyahu didn't get along either with the leaders of Klal Yisrael. That's an interesting point about both of them.
Correct. He also stood up in front of when it was not popular, when it was really not popular. And there's one thing that came to my mind, and when we're talking about Moshe Rabbeinu and Pinchas, we know that there's also maybe in the Zohar it says a little bit, maybe in a few Sifrei Chassidut, a few books of Chassidut, it says about what happens. The Malach HaMavet has a discussion with Hashem and says, what happens with a woman or man that dies, unfortunately, Nebuch, when they are young? What happens with the years? This lady was meant to live 120 years and she dies when she's in her 30s or 40s. What happens with these years? So Hashem says, I give it to the tzaddikim that were able to overlook things that hurt them, and they kept it inside, and they concentrated on doing the right thing and not just fighting back their war, even when it was legitimized. So Moshe Rabbeinu comes over to Hashem and says, all of my generation are people that are dying earlier than what they knew, than what they were supposed to die. All of my generation. You can't give me the few years to go into Eretz Yisrael. So Hashem says, you were good to all of the years, but there's something that again, if we're talking about Moshe Rabbeinu, we should be very careful. But there was something that was missing. And what? It says, Shimhuna Hamorim. Listen, you ungrateful people, you people against Hashem. He's talking to Am Yisrael. You think when they were complaining that there was no water, and with anger, he said, you think that from this water, you don't believe that from this rock will come out. You spoke about my people, about my sons, one time that you called them legitimized, even was legitimized. At the end of the day, you said something, and that's why you can't get those years. But who got those years? Because we know, like you said before, Pinchas Eliyahu. Did Eliyahu pass away? Does Eliyahu have a grave? It says when Eliyahu finishes his life here on the earth, it says, Allah besara shamayim. Goes. You hear me?
Now we can hear you.
Yeah. So he goes up. He goes up in a wagon, up to the sky. Allah b'sara shamayma. So Pinchas Eliyahu, so like the same way that Eliyahu, also Pinchas keeps on living. And when we understand that who got the rewards, only because what? He did not retaliate. He did not say anything bad about the people that attacked him. And this is a lesson, maybe to conclude this shiur, we could all say a great lesson, that at the end of the day, think about it. If someone does something bad to you, or someone does something or says something about you, at the end of the day, what kind of reward are you going to get by not retaliating, by keeping your mouth shut, by not saying a bad thing about the other person, by not retaliating, by just keeping it like that? You just say, if we have the examples of Moshe Rabbeinu, that he had the miseries of misery, the misery of miseries, right? Like, no, there was nothing bigger than that. With Korach, Datan, Abiram, and he kept his lips sealed. He got the biggest reward from Hashem. Pinchas the same. We know from Sinat Chinam, Charab Habayit, Ba'avat Chinam Ibanei Habayit, and Be'ezrat Hashem, we should all be zocheh to binyan Beit HaMikdash HaShlishi, with Mashiach Tzidkenu Bekarov B'yameinu. Amen.
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 Thank you, Rabbi.
Amen.
Thank you. Wow, that was really powerful, and really beautiful connection between all the parshiot and the different stories. Very, very nice and inspiring, especially for the 3 weeks. So thank you so much, Rabbi Haber.
Thank you.
And I'm so glad that we had you.
Shkoyach, thank you very much. Nice meeting you all. Be'ezrat Hashem, you all invited to Young Israel Sunny Isles.
Thank you. Sure.
Rabbi,
can you please translate this last phrase? Because I'm sorry, we did not understand.
Which last phrase? Which one?
The very last, it was something very important, but I'm sorry, we don't know any Hebrew.
All right, so in building a Beis HaMikdash, that we should all be privileged to be at Beit HaMikdash, and with Mashiach, that Mashiach should come and take us out of this exile, take us out of the galut. Okay?
Oh, thank you.
Amen.
Okay.
It should happen now. It should happen now.
Amen.
Have a good day. Have a good day and an easy fast to everyone.
It's happening. We just got to do the day-to-day work. That's all.
I think
Rabbi.
David has a question. Yes, David.
yeah, it's not a question, it's just an observation. The very first sentence of our prayer before we go to sleep at night, except for Shabbos, is that we forgive anybody, that nobody should be punished on our behalf because of us, because of our account. that if somebody wronged us, whether it was intentional or unintentional, or whether it was physical or non-physical, whether it was in money, whether it was spiritual, a whole variety of different things, nobody should bear any type of punishment because of what they did to us. And that's the very first of our going to prayers at the end of the day.
Beautiful.
You know what? I will just mention one little thing, Rabbi Haber, and that is that there was a couple that couldn't have kids for many years, and they went to different rabbanim around the world, and they asked, for blessings and so on. And one of the rabbanim told them
sign off there.
One of the rabbanim told them that if you get a bracha, get a blessing from someone who was insulted and embarrassed, but did not answer back, stayed quiet, that person has the power to give you a bracha, an incredible bracha. So this couple found at one point, sometime they were at a wedding and someone screamed at someone, and they told him, don't say anything back, and then they asked them to give them a bracha, and they gave him a bracha, and sure enough, after many years of marriage, they actually had children. So it's a tremendous, this along the lines of your lesson, this story, I think, is very apropos.
Beautiful. Shkoyach. Thank you very much. A pleasure meeting all of you.
Thank you.
Okay. Sei gesund, everyone. Have an easy fast.
Bye-bye.